Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Noct, and let's find out if everything is still a bucket. Or not.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Hey, Bucket.
Where are we going today? The Bucket asked. Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would be perfectly fine with him.
Exactly. Finally, you start to get it. I'm curious
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest.
if this time I can actually go through the bucket door.
But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct?
Nope.
No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift.
I really wondered if I could jump down here somehow.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
We will go through.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see?
No.
There's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the...
Okay, this is the same. Begin the game again.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
We follow
Stanley
the story
decided
now.
to go to the meeting room. A good bucket, a strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction.
Who's a good bucket? You are the good bucket. I love you, Bucket.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Okay, so which figurines I'm missing? There was a list, I think, somewhere. Somewhere both red and blue. Any hints here? Ah, we will see.
Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers.
All
if
right.
I did, you can guarantee we'd be in here for hours. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Two 548. I think. I don't know if I remember it right.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him, always.
What's happening outside?
And he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk, nor in his bliss of simply being near. The bucket did not react, except perhaps a tiny glow of warmth. Subtle, yes, but an unmistakable spark from somewhere deep within. Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know
2845.
that the combination was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Is there anything here? I'm just waiting for the moment when there will be something here. Time to go down. Bucket, are you sure you want to go this way? Yes, Stanley. Okay, then we go this way.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
I agree. Ooh.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
No.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
It won't be that
The door
violent,
behind
I
them was
think.
not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
The end is never the end is loading, the end is never the end is loading. So, let's see how painful this. Oh, bucket, you're still here.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be
Bullshit.
sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Uh-oh. Bucket! Bob, you saved me.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
No, bucket is here.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
The bucket. Welcome you to the grand exhibit. We're standing at the precipice of knowledge. Much like a bucket itself, the human mind is frequently empty within, a cavernous void. But through use of the exhibit in front of you, the mind becomes full and enriched and substantiated. Knowledge of the bucket and its history is the only true knowledge we really have. Will you take what you learn here out with you into the world? Will you accept with an open mind what may be challenging about the information in this exhibit? Will you change the lives of yourselves and your loved ones as a result of this exhibit? Or will you turn a blind eye and continue to live as you were, in ignorance and darkness and bucketless? The bucket!
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
Bucket! Don't leave me, Bucket! You're kidnapping him! Get me Bucket back, now. Fucking hell, how to say bucket? A bucket with two handles. This bucket is depicted as having two handles. Such a design have never been created in real life, having been deemed too dangerous and recklessly experimental. Every year dozens are put to death just for attempting it. Bucket? How can I save you, Bucket? Please, tell me. Oh, true art. This is a masterpiece of bucketry. This is the true form of buckets. For this world and the next. 25 buckets. This is not 25. A photograph of 25 buckets, the greatest number of buckets ever captured on camera. The photographer experienced catatonic shock for several weeks as a result of the euphoria from exposure to this many buckets at once. Do you really want me to count it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, it's more than 25. Inferno bucket. A replica of the Inferno bucket, which in the medieval era was so powerfully alluring that it drove dozens of nations to war with one another for control of it. Billions died, and yet in spite of it all, the simple fact remains, no one can control a bucket. I can. I believe in it. The stress bucket and analogy. Worrying, negative forecasting, negative thinking, lack of reassurance. Vulnerability size equals size and strength of the bucket. Coping strategies equals holes. Stress equals the level of water in the bucket. Rest and relaxation, doing something you enjoy, rest and relaxation. The stress bucket, presented without commentary. Okay. So there was a leak. Someone used the bucket. People cheered for the bucket, and then deers ate the bucket and died. This is truly a magnificent creature. Cave drawing. While we know that the bucket predated the existence of mankind, we do not know by how long. This cave drawing depicts early man's discovery of the practical uses of the bucket, by which time the bucket had already likely been around for several millennia. Notice in these drawings how the bucket is allowing itself to be used, having judged humanity to be worthy of its treasures. We don't deserve it. The bucket is too good for us.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
The hanging bucket. This piece symbolizes the necessary relationship between bucket and humanity. However clear our grasp of the bucket may be, there is yet more that is always out of reach. This distance, inevitably, is for our own good. Bucket, come here! I'm saving you! I did not expect to be able to walk to it.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
Bucket is dead. I'm dead. We died together. Oh, that's good. That feels soothing. Bucket, I'm coming for you. Please don't be crushed. Please don't be crushed.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Welcome to the whiteboard ending. Dog mode. I could click it. Oh, it barks instead of typing sound. Okay, dog mode is on. And it won't ever be off. Something is glitching there, okay. Oh! Bucket, I did not notice you, Bucket.
The embrace of an old friend. A weathered companionship that stands the test of time.
Exactly. Okay, so...
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
I do enter it.
Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
This place is still the same. Wait, is the last statue here? Red, blue, maybe? The last Stanley Green, or what was the name? Oh well. Ooh, what was it? 2845? I don't remember.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was
bucket
the
knew?
bucket guiding him?
Yes.
This is certainly the most logical explanation.
Need to go down. Need to see what the narrator wants me to see. What Bucket and me can do. So... let's see. Mind
Stanley
control
and the
facility.
bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
The secrets of the bucket. Every bucket.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
That's our office, let's see. What will that have? Yeah, the office is empty. Oh, plutonium! I think 459, okay. I will need to check that. That green glow is interesting.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind.
Employee fired. Bucket?
No!
Time to
He
go.
screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control.
No!
Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Mind control idle, awaiting input.
But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds.
Silly birds.
Silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
Bird. They're so silly.
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
So silly. Anyway, that was all for this episode. Thank you for watching. We saw some silly birds together. Some truth unveiled itself thanks to our good friend the bucket. And next time we will continue adventuring with the bucket. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. Bye.